Many of the closest games that I've seen so far in Total War Warhammer 3 have been between the human factions. Apologies about my voice, still a little under the weather, guys, but I'm not going to let a silly thing like that stop me from bringing you some awesome Total War Warhammer 3 content. Today we've got another replay submitted by Medley. She's going to be taking Grand Cathay against Bretonnia, a very interesting matchup. These factions interact in a couple of really interesting ways that we'll talk about in just a minute. Miao Ying leading the way here. We've got a couple of Jade crossbow shields, some Jade warriors, Celestial Dragon Dune Guard, the Regiment of Renowned Celestial Dragon Guard, obviously. A couple of more Jade warriors with shields, and then we've got a Sky Junk up in the air. Bretonnia skewed heavily into the anti-infantry AP for this initial force, which I definitely agree with, given that men-at-arms have poor capture weight, as do Peasant Long Spears. I should note but all men-at-arms units and peasant mobs obviously have expendable capture weight, so definitely makes sense to take foot squires and battle pilgrims as your primary infantry capture force for Bretonnia Domination. Of course, Cathay tends to bring a lot of armored infantry, right? And that especially includes armored halberds, which you definitely need these great weapons to deal with. The great swords in particular, of course, of the foot squires here. 9 bonus versus infantry on top of 35 total weapon strength. Pretty decent for their cost. Will definitely hit those Cathayan units relatively hard, as long as they're not too juiced up on harmony. Lewin leading the way. Let's take a look at the reinforcements as well. For Cathay's reserves, we've got the Regiment of Renowned Longmas Riders, and just quickly to note, they do have a direct counterpart here in a Royal Pegasus Knight for Bretonnia. Back to Cathay, 2 Jade Lancers, 2 Jade Halberds, 2 more Jade Crossbows, Sans Shields. We've got 2 Iron Hails as well, Peasant Horsemen, and 5 Peasant Long Spears. For Bretonnia's reserves, got a Lore of Heaven's Damsel Caster, said Royal Pegasus Knights, a single Grail Knight, a single Questing Knight, 3 Knights of the Realm, 3 Spearmen at Arms, rather, and 2 Peasant Mobs. And we are now back, so let's get to it. Like I mentioned, the Halberds versus Cavalry is definitely an interesting one. The fact that Cathay, has a lot of armored infantry, they have shields, but tend to be less cost efficient and can't quite bring so many numbers. Obviously, Bretonnia's extremely superior mobility, it must be said, does give them a pretty decisive advantage on that front, and you even have good armor-piercing cavalry, some of the best in the game, in fact, in Questing Knights that will deal very efficiently with these armored infantry. So it'll be interesting to see the Dune Dragons in particular, Jade Halberds, Celestial Dragon Halberds, how those will interact in this matchup. Lewin's pushing forward, though. Getting into a position here to start taking some swipes at the Sky Junk. Definitely going to be good to try and deal damage to it early on before it can get into a position to provide harmony on the objectives here. Meanwhile, the Trebuchets are also going to open fire on the Jade Warriors there. We've got the Regiment of Renown Longmas already deployed, so we're going to get a nice air fight. I know this is one thing a lot of people were fairly hyped for, actually. And are the Trebuchets, did they just hit the Sky Junk? I don't know. Maybe not. Anyway, yeah, you can see Lewin here taking some swings there. Also the gunners on the junk itself, of course, are going to be taking pot shots as well. Righteous Lances of Wage-In swoop in, but their counterpart from reserves, Royal Pegasus Knights of Bretonnia, come out of reserves. And we're going to keep it in cinematic cam for just a moment here as we watch this clash, because this is one that a lot of people have been waiting for, myself included. Sword of Corone is going to go down from Lewin, which will debuff the stats of the Righteous Lances considerably, and then the Pegasus Knights swoop in, decisive charge here, and that is going to be a very bad situation for Cathay. Although Lewin had taken some damage initially, still looking pretty rough. The Trebuchets and the Rockets also danger close firing. Might be hitting a few units in this blob as they shoot at other targets. Notice how the Trebuchet also having some issues shooting up onto a slope, so despite the fact, I think you do get a missile damage buff or debuff depending on elevation. Not that it would matter that much. A nice solid hit there takes out a chunk of those Jade crossbowmen, but you will notice some accuracy issues occasionally for certain artillery pieces, especially. Miao Ying transforms up into the air and then immediately just manually lands on the ground here. Going to throw down a Talons of the Night to dish significant damage, but then look at the Pegasus Knights. Great micro to just get them immediately away. Almost all of them, I should say. One model there in particular gets dragged down by giant dragon paws. But there you go. These Knights of the Realm going to swoop up and around, try and get at those Iron Hail Gunners. Very important to shut down those AP missiles to protect the Knights. Nope. Instead, they're actually going to swoop back and just rear charge these Jade Warriors. Continue to try and clear up some of this infantry here. Nice fire. Oh man, that charge plus the trebuchet volleys hitting at the same time did a lot of damage to those Dune Dragons. But anyway, from a objective capture perspective, of course, Cathay having superior numbers on this initial point here is going to do quite well. Pegasus Knights also swoop down. They're the ones who actually go after the Iron Hail Gunners, but Righteous Lances, having survived, do get a little bit of a counter rear charge here and kind of turn this situation around. What initially had been very rough for them, they now force the Pegasus Knights back up into the air, and perhaps we'll see one more pitched engagement between them, but let's take a look at the wider view for now. Got the Beast Slayers of Bastion a little bit out of position here, just kind of hiding in the woods, slow pushing over on the side. Maybe with these Knights of the Realm, they're going to prepare to try and capture this objective. We'll see about that. And Lewin, of course, continuing to regenerate here. Lion Shield will definitely give him a lot of protection against missiles, as long as he can keep it active. But, ooh, some nasty volleys for the Pegasus Knights, as in the distance, the Righteous Lances charge straight into a Talons of the Night, but those Knights of the Realm definitely suffering pretty badly in that engagement because of that magic and rear charge now. Rockets also firing point blank at the Knights of the Realm, so very cool, fun cinematic fight here in Death's Pass. Or no, this is Broken Leg Gully, right? That's right, Broken Leg Gully here. Anyway, Lewin's going to drop another Sword of Corone in the center. Continue to fight. We've got some Foot Squires heading down from this high ground objective. Maybe stayed there a little bit over long. Could have come to help perhaps a little bit sooner on this center. But better late than never. Bretonnia's still got plenty of time to make captures. Try and get back in this game. So Storm of the Night here debuffing speed. Try and keep those Foot Squires from getting into a position quite as quickly, but they still are able to mostly get through. Peasant Long Spears also don't have the best capture weight anyway. Handful of Knights of the Realm come through as well. Just nice charge into the rear of those Celestial Dune Dragons. Yeah, you know what I mean. And they are gone. Peasant Long Spear is going to filter in here, fight the Foot Squires. So, man, I didn't know I needed a Thurian style, you know, sort of Anglo-Saxon French amalgamation fighting an amalgamation of various Chinese dynasties. It's really pretty amazing, honestly. One of the reasons why Warhammer's so cool. And then you look over and you see the Hippogriff fighting the giant gun balloon, and you realize exactly that this is what it was meant to be all along. Lewin taking some more armor-piercing fire, but not before he terrifies away Sky Junk. Of course, these Iron Hails are probably still going to be able to provide at least a degree of harmony, but it doesn't look like actually any units down here are within harmony. Meanwhile, up on the high ground, I've been missing it, but Foot Squires, Beast Slayers of Bastion get into position. They're going to get support of Questing Knights here, rear charging, and just Sword Jade Warriors are going to perform very poorly in this type of a situation. I do understand why you would open with them, though, just in case Bretonnia went like crazy archer heavy or something. Perhaps it's better to have the shields and missile block chance, but I don't know. Maybe there's an argument to be made. You just open with like 5 halberds and go from there. But anyway, Jade Warrior Crossbowman also standing in on this objective as well. Bretonia's not able to amass enough capture weight up here to actually get this objective under their control, which is potentially going to be a little bit risky. If they can't actually secure this middle objective, it might be in a tough situation. They're not at a 3-cap situation yet, but closing in on it reasonably quickly. We'll see. But Foot Squire is going to continue to fight here. I think they actually rout away. Yes, both units of Foot Squires rout away. The Peasant Long Spears just barely holding together their leadership. Jade Halberds, though, are getting focused by Trebuchets, and I often badmouth Trebuchet's accuracy because it's terrible. But the closer you get to the Trebuchets, the more accurate they become, and especially when they can just concentrate area of effect fire on a point, like in Domination, definitely is a situation where they will perform better than in, say, a pitched land battle where your opponent has all that space to try and not get hit by the Trebuchets. Anyway, another Talons of the Night going to go down here. Mostly just hits Peasant mobs, though, which is, value-wise, actually probably not great. So good job, Peasants. You know, high five via Dragon Talon. But anyway, yeah, Wrath of the Storm also going to juice up the melee attack of these Peasant Long Spears as they try and close the gap. But Bretonnia is definitely pressing. Unfortunately, as I mentioned, the men-at-arms mobs don't have very good capture weights, so not actually amassing all that much capture weight. But up on the high ground, eventually the questing knights do start to get through. Knights of the Realm, questing knights, just smashing through Cathay and infantry repeatedly. Anything that has tried to come up and reinforce this point has just got absolutely crushed. So eventually this objective is going to go in Bretonnia's favor, and once it starts to tilt, it actually goes very quickly, with all three of these units being very healthy, and just the one expendable capture weight. Peasant Long Spear, we're not really able to do much, but while that's happening, Cathay is starting to push forward in the center. There's an argument that maybe you should try and just move up, block Bretonnia from even coming through this center pass, maybe try and get on some of those trebuchets, but they are almost out of ammunition anyway. You know, there's an argument to be made as well. You just weather the last of the fire there and still try and maintain capture on the objective, but we'll see. Right now, Bretonnia has a 2-cap, but they do need a 3-cap. If we look at the victory tickets here, within 1,000 of winning, Medley's Cathay here in a very good position. You know, with Bretonnia being more than 2,000 points behind. I guess not more than 2,000 points behind, but more than 1,000. More than Medley's gap to win, right? And that's kind of the whole idea. But gonna get some units retreating, shattering off the field. This poor Jade crossbowman just continues to get massacred. And we'll see. We've got some Grail Knights, big high-tier Grail Knights coming out from reserves over on this side. I maybe would have liked to have seen some yeomen as well from this Bretonnian player, perhaps, just to provide some more mobile capture weight. All cavalry have the same, so even if they're expendable, you know, terrible cavalry like these peasant horsemen, they are going to get absolutely smoked by Grail Knights. It's, yeah, it's not going to be good for them. But anyway, you can use those cheap light cavalry just to provide mobile capture weight and to do a very efficient job of that. Nice wind blast comes in here from the Damsel of Heavens, and a few more trebuchet shots are going to land. And yeah, this center force all of a sudden is at risk of being fully compromised. Knights of the Realm are going to try and swing back and add their capture weight to there as well. Damsel of Heavens also has a decent amount of capture weight on horseback, and then here come the Grail Knights. So the mass collapse coming from the center for the center objective could lead to a 3-cap if Bretonnia is able to execute this quickly enough. So let's keep it close. We see charges from all sides, trebuchet shots landing. Lewin also straight for Miao Ying in the center. And there you go. Big old Sword of Corone hitting all of these units right at the right time. Huge chain tear route takes hold. Jade Lancers try their best to reinforce, but a nice Curse to Midnight win from Lord of Heavens as well, debuffing armor and melee attack. They are going to suffer extra against the anti-large of the Knights of the Realm there. The Iron Hail Gunners also raining fire in, but likewise, they just cannot stop this massive Bretonnian force here. But a potentially critical error. The Beastslayers of Bastion are going to forsake this objective, which they definitely should have stayed to defend. We've got some Peasant Horsemen, Peasant Long Spears. Very quick reaction from Medley to get back on that point. And should be able to recapture it. We'll see. If the Bretonnians notice in time, they're able to reinforce back up there. It could be really, really hard. I mean, even just the Beastslayers themselves could defend against both of those units just fine. But meanwhile, big cavalry brawl in the center. Jade Lancers can only do so much when it's just so severely outclassed and outvalued and outnumbered. They're going to get ransacked there. And beautiful, oh man, that placement too. Super crispy. Nice wind blast there. Lewin suddenly realizes though, like, oh crap. Beastslayers are all out of position now. They're going to swing back up. Knights of the Realm also going to swing back up, but will it be quick enough? Obviously, Lewin doesn't have any capture weight. If he was able to terrify away these peasant units, he might have been able to secure this objective momentarily, but Medley is so close to winning here, she really only needs a handful more tickets to take home the dub, so to speak. So, oh man, Knights of the Realm going to charge in here. Once again, Peasant Horsemen so severely outclassed, but still will perform admirably given their cost. Certainly, it's not a situation they want to be a part of. They have the choice, but they definitely don't. It's also a little bit hard to see, but they're not actually on the objective. They were just like barely a meter off of the objective on that point. So the positioning there from Medley, I mean, I don't know if, obviously she probably didn't intend. He was trying to block from the objective, certainly, but just barely got the position, like literally within a couple of millimeters of the correct position. Because I think had the Beast Slayers and the Knights both been able to get on that tiny little bit of side objective, it would have been enough to hold the extra, 3 or 4 seconds that Bretonnia needed to win. What a narrow, razor-thin finish, man. Great game. Very well played to both players. Awesome matchup. One that I actually haven't played myself too much, but I really was looking forward to. And this is a replay that lived up to a lot of the hype of what I had sort of built up for myself for this particular matchup. So big thanks all around to everyone involved. Obviously, most of all for Medley for sending this in. And yeah, Meow Yin gets a lot of kills, not that much value, which kind of surprises me. Skyjunk, 70 kills, almost 1,500 value, though. Definitely had some high-value units to go after, and the relative low armor of the Foot Squires does make them a pretty decent target. Most of this infantry is going to struggle pretty badly. I mean, only one of these Jade Warriors pays for themselves. Even the Celestial Dragon Guard ROR there gets pretty badly hurt. I'm surprised. Righteous Lances, it was a good recovery, too, to try to get them back in the fight where they can pay for themselves after that very horrible initial engagement. The Iron Hails are really where a lot of the damage value comes from, and they're definitely a unit that I would look for in this matchup. From Bretonnia's side, if you can counterfire them with Peasant Archers, or just get on top of them with your cavalry, given their relatively short range, they need to stay with close to the front lines where your cavalry can get to them with relative ease. We also didn't see any long-range crane guns here, which might potentially be a factor in this matchup, but it's hard to say. The Peasant Longspear is also super cost-effective here, as are the Halberds generally. Jade Lancers definitely had a tough time, but who can blame them when they are so significantly outclassed by Bretonnian cavalry? And Lewin gets a lot of damage. A lot of that's on Meow Ying specifically, but definitely some nice performance there. Also, Trebuchets all nearing 200 kills, one slightly over, which is a great performance for them. For them, infantry-wise, I think I probably would have altered the composition a little bit, maybe taken just a couple of Pilgrims instead of all of the rest of this, just because the capture weight's so bad. And Pilgrim's leadership is really good, even if they don't necessarily trade great with a lot of the Cathay and infantry. Actually, haven't tried them 1v1 versus Jade Warriors. With Harmony, I'd imagine the Jade Warriors probably win, but I don't know. They're definitely going to beat Peasant Longspears. And just the leadership, again, is pretty important to have, I feel. And generally, I don't know, Pilgrims are okay. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. But the cavalry for Bretonnia also, I mean, 344 kills, 1651 on a unit of questing knights. The Royal Pegasus Knights didn't quite pay for themselves. Like to have seen a little bit more out of them, but definitely contributed pretty heavy lifting there. And then the Knights of the Realm also very cost effective. So it's kind of a lot of what was meant to happen in this matchup happened, and it ended up being a very close game. The cavalry of Bretonnia prevailed and narrowly almost brought it back. Cathay, infantry was able to hold, utilize their kind of harmony, ranged and combined arms to a degree, let their gunpowder units shine through. So definitely a very, very fun one. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. If you like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.